You're on.
Oh, off field, set to come your way. Look, that's Bennie Fowler. He's Nate Jackson. BK, we're going to get into all that, but I want to remind you that Trusted American Mortgage's salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. Go to trustedamerican.com to see how much they can save you. Trustedamerican.com.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
You're live, BK.
We're live. We're going to do it live. I am not Liv Moods. Liv will be along in an hour if she's going to do some off-court hosting, and I'll jump on with that. But I'm BK. This is Nate Jackson, of course, and this is Super Bowl 50 champion Bennie Fowler in the house. Bennie, welcome to Guerrilla Sports Off Field. Thanks for stopping by. Playoff week.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Broncos are back in the playoffs. This is exciting, man. It's great. City's buzzing, so I'm excited to just be here to talk ball with you guys.
You can follow Bennie on all his social channels at Bennie Fowler 123. He spells it Bennie, which is the same way my grandfather's name was spelled.
Nice.
Is your name Benjamin or is it just Bennie?
Just Benny.
Same with my grandpa.
Oh, wow.
Just Bennie.
Nice.
And so, like, my nephew who has the same middle name, they made it Bennie as well because they just wanted to honor my my grandpa. So that's cool, Bennie.
Shout out to your grandpa.
Yeah, shout out to my
Great for all the Bennies.
all the Bennies. He's no longer with us.
Okay.
Lost him in 94. So
All right,
let's move on
keep
to
it
the
going.
Broncos. So I guess because both of y'all played in the playoffs, let's start with playoff week. Sean Payton yesterday was, quick to say, normal routine. Broncos kind of lucked out. We talked about this on Monday by getting a Sunday to Sunday setup versus the teams that have the Saturday. Obviously, two teams are going to get the Monday extra day. When you guys got to the playoffs, and all your years here at the start were playoffs, you were in the playoffs a bunch. How easy was it to say, hey, this is just another game, especially for all these guys that have never been in the playoffs first time around, and the franchise isn't perennial. You're not a rookie walking into the Broncos in 2015 with Peyton Manning. It's new for almost everybody. So I'll start with you, Bennie, as our guest. How hard was it to just say, oh, playoffs are here, another work week?
It wasn't just another work week. That's not how I saw it at all. My first 2 years, we had buys. So we were the number one, or we were number 2 seed my rookie year, and then we were the number 1 seed my second year. So it wasn't a normal week. We had a little bit of practice, and then we got to travel for a couple of days. So it was totally different. And then my first actual playoff game against Pittsburgh in the divisional round, it was an ugly first half. I mean, sloppy, couple drops in the first half, from a couple different receivers, a couple from myself, where the nerves were actually there. The game is moving at a totally different speed. You had a couple weeks off. So it was totally different. It wasn't just a normal week, maybe for the veterans who had been there before, but not for myself.
Yeah, when you're talking about the Saturday or the Sunday game, I don't even remember what day that we
I think
played
I mean
on.
the whole week.
No, I'm just saying because it is you don't know which day you're going to play on, and then you do find out that week. But I don't even remember what day it was. Looking back, you know what I mean? Because it is so exciting. It's the playoffs. We play on Saturday or we play on Sunday. We go play, and so the first 3 years I was here, we made the playoffs all 3 years. The last 3, we missed all 3 years, and then Mike Shanahan got fired, and we all got fired after that. But the first 2 were on the road, wild card going to Indy. They were the number. I guess they weren't the number 1 seed, or else they would have had the bye.
Maybe they were the 3 seed.
But they were good, and they stomped us both years in a row. 2 years in a row, we went to Indy in the wild card round. 2 years in a row, we got boat raced, and that was rough. I mean,
Peyton years?
Peyton.
Yeah.
Peyton, man. I mean,
lighting it up?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was too much. We had a good team. We had a really good team. We had, that first year, 2003, we had Shannon Sharp, we had Rod Smith, we had Ed McCaffrey. We had a really good team with a lot of veterans on that team who had won Super Bowls.
And Al Wilson,
Trevor Price, Tom Nalen, all those guys. And we still got absolutely whooped because Peyton Manning was starting to do things that the league hadn't seen. I mean, you got to see that even at a more, refined pace or whatever. By the time he got here, he was dialing it up, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And he was doing some of that there. So, but then the third year we got the first round bye, and we ended up hosting the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, and we beat them. Champ Bailey had that 99-yard interception return, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers came to town for the AFC Championship game, and they were a wild card team, and they had gone on a little heater at the end of the season and had gone on the road and beat Indy, and they came to us, and we thought we're going to beat the Steelers and go to the Super Bowl, and we came out flat, man, and we lost that game, and that was all she wrote. The next year, Mike Shanahan traded up to get Jay Cutler, and then Jay Cutler started in the middle of that next year, and we never made the playoffs again. So it's fleeting, man. Like that, you got to see Peyton at his prime, I guess. Did you make the playoffs all the years you were here?
No. The first 2 years, playoffs, first round buys.
So 14 and 15 was it? Or
14 and 15, and then the next 2 years after that, 9 and 7, and then 5 and 11.
Wow.
Never been on a team that played a road playoff game. We lost to Brady in the NFC divisional round in 2020 when I was playing for Sean.
Oh, wow.
So that was tough, but we were the number 1 seed that year, I believe. I think we were 13 and 3 or 12.
You never played in a road playoff game?
No.
Wow. Put on some good teams, Benny.
Yeah, really good teams, really good quarterbacks.
Yeah. And 2020 was obviously a little different because of COVID, but playing for Sean, who at that point had won a Super Bowl, had been in the playoffs, 8, 9, 10, whatever that number is in his 14 years at that point. You have to, and Cortland Sutton talked to this yesterday. He's like, we believe, Sean Payton came in and changed the culture, but everything that he's saying to this team, I got to think that they're eating up. But in that case, where he's kind of a godlike figure in New Orleans and still is, and will always be because of what that franchise was before he got there and what he and Drew Brees were able to do. So you guys, I get that you lose to the Bucks, and had y'all beaten them twice during the regular season, I believe?
Yeah, we beat them handily in both games. I recovered a onside kick in the first game, but we beat them handily in Tampa as well. I mean, they just had we turned the ball over, though. Drew threw 3 interceptions. Right. We gave Tom Brady a short field. Tom didn't actually play that well. He actually struggled against us all 3 games. But, you can't turn the ball over against him. He'll capitalize.
But what I was going to ask, though, is when you've got Sean Payton, and look, you were here with John Fox, who'd been to a Super Bowl, Gary Kubiak, who had obviously been around and a part of the Mike Shanahan-led Super Bowl teams. But also just because of Sean's personality, I got to think that you guys, no matter what he was saying, and you also had Drew Brees there, but just the messaging from Sean that whole season as you get into the playoffs had to be easy to consume.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is going to, Sean is a black and white talker. He is going to let you know what he thinks, and he is going to believe in the game plan that's put together by the offense, defense, and special teams, and he is going to relay that message. I'll never forget in training camp when he actually put that roster together, he brought out a magnum bottle of Camus because it reminded him of the roster that he assembled in 2020, reminded him of the roster that won the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
What's Camus?
Camus is a nice Pinot Noir. It's a nice red wine. You've had to have Camus before.
No, I don't.
So we'll spend just a minute or two on Sean Payton and the whole Camus thing. So he's told this story a few times, and it's out there, and I think there's even articles about it. But so the Cowboys at the end of the combine, Jerry Jones will rent out part of St. Elmo's, the famous steakhouse in Indianapolis. And Jerry's favorite wine, or one of them, was Camus. And they would get these big magnums of Camus. And Sean Payton had worked with Jerry and thought it was really cool. In his first year in New Orleans, they did the same thing, but did it the night before the Cowboys did it. And so Sean took what I think there was only a couple bottles, and they were Jerry's. And Sean's like, so he took it and he signed it. And he signed it. And then when they gave it to Jerry, who was a big fan of Sean's, and they're still real close from obviously Sean's time there with Parcells, Jerry thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And so I think that bottle is either in Jerry's office in Dallas or at St. Elmo's. But so if you're lucky enough to be out at dinner with Sean, he'll not only tell you that story, but also you'll get the Camus wine. It tends to be one of his favorites. So if he's bringing it out because that reminded him of 09.
100%.
So
I think he'll have this team ready. He'll have this team ready to go. And I picked the Broncos to go on the road and get this win because I think he's the better coach.
Yeah. I think they got a really good shot too. And when I was just talking about that game we lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, I see some similarities between these Broncos and those Steelers who kind of went on a run as a wild card team and were able to go on the road as a unit and be like, all right, screw it. Doesn't matter. We're doing this together. And the Bills are, you had Sal Carpaccio on yesterday. Yeah, no, Carpaccio. There's no R. But he was talking about how the pressure's on the Bills to win the Super Bowl. They're like Super Bowl or bust. And if they don't, then McDermott's going to be on the hot seat. And that's a lot of pressure for these guys. And I think that they might be playing a little tight, and the Broncos can step in playing with house money, so to speak, like really feeling confident, like they can cut it loose and play.
Yeah.
You're a special teams player as well,
For sure.
As a
Only way to make the team as an undrafted guy.
right? Yeah, exactly. I know how that feels. What I always loved about special teams was the fact that, and if you run all four, you're going to be on the first play of the game.
Yep.
And you're not waiting around if it's a coin toss or offense or defense. You're out there, and the first play, the kickoff, is going to be intense.
Yeah.
Not anymore though.
Yeah, no, it's totally.
What do you
different.
think about the new kickoff rule?
I don't mind it in terms of player safety, but I think it does take away from just that element of you can actually set the tone. Hey, we might kick this ball short and let's go hit somebody, or let's pin them back.
Right.
You're going to miss that opportunity. And like you said, it is the first play of the game, and you get that full sprint.
Yeah.
If you're running down on kickoff L5, L1, whatever you may be,
Yeah.
you get to run through the end zone if it's a touchback, or you get to actually hit somebody and get the nerves out. So
did you ever get hurt on a kickoff?
On kickoff, no, all good.
I didn't either. Well, actually, I had a pull of a groin that was already messed up.
That wasn't related.
Exactly. It was running. I was just sprinting. And
I was always avoiding people. I mean,
that's the thing. Like the whole player safety, you're taking away the kickoff because you're trying to protect player. Football is dangerous. We're playing
100%.
because we know it's dangerous. We're hitting each other full speed on every play, and so it's a lot of lip service to me to dismantle one of the most important plays in the game. I know we're off topic a little bit as far as playoffs, but we're talking football.
Yeah.
And I think that like you said, the kickoff is a tone-setting play. It's a momentum-changing play. Like if you go down there and light somebody up on the 15-yard line, your defense comes out on the field like yes,
100%,
and that galvanizes them to play better, right? And
For sure.
And vice versa, if you have a nice return, sets your guys up.
Special teams is huge. I mean, I think about Omar Bolden and some of the plays that he made for us on the Super Bowl run, or Jordan Norwood. At the time, a couple of years ago, was the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. So special teams is going to play a huge part this weekend and throughout the playoffs.
So Jordan Norwood's return was, I want to say, like 55 yards, give or take.
Yeah.
And so I was at the Super Bowl 2 years ago in Phoenix when the Chiefs beat the Eagles. And there was a big punt return, and I turned to whoever I sit next to, and they're like, 61 yards or whatever. I go, oh, that's the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. Like, how do you know that? I was like, well, because Jordan Norwood's was 55, and this is more than 50, or whatever it was. I was like, that's 4 yards more, 6 yards more.
Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, and then they put it up like Kadarius Toney, the longest punt. I told you. I think the crazier thing is that there wasn't a longer one than that no one's ever had. Because Desmond Howard, I believe in the Super Bowl, had two big kick returns for the Packers, and he may have been the Super Bowl MVP when
I think he was
when the Packers beat the Patriots. Brett Favre's only Super Bowl, but those were both kick returns. So it was interesting to when Jordan had that big play to set y'all up. That was the longest ever. At that point, there had been 49 other Super Bowls.
Right.
The kickoff thing, I'm not going to be the wet blanket on this, but there is data that has shown the most injuries occurred on that play when players were running full speed and colliding versus now.
Can you show me that data?
Sure.
No. We'll do it later. Don't look it up right now.
Yeah, it's not.
There's when you're talking about data of injuries, I think it's like a little misleading because guys don't show when they're hurt, right? Like if you're going to talk about quantifiable injuries when a guy has to get pulled off the field for that, but like when you get your bell rung on a play, you don't like, hey coach, I'm hurt. Right. You walk off the field, nobody knows. And so I think the data or data, depending on how you pronounce that word, I don't know. Or
data.
Data.
I wouldn't say that, but
I think can be a little misleading. I think the most important data to consider in football is 100% of the players get hurt. It doesn't matter which play you get freaking hurt on, in my opinion, you're gonna get hurt. To me, the most important thing is that they take care of the players after they're hurt. Yeah. They provide quality health care. They assess the injury correctly. They don't force them back on the field when they still have injuries. They take care of them, yes, for the rest of their lives if they have injuries that resulted from. Are you trying to lose weight?
I'm not.
No,
I would wonder not necessarily about the injury data, but more so the concussion data. If it's just injury data, I mean hamstrings. We used to, if the defense scored a touchdown, we would have somebody go fake an injury. So
right.
The defense, that's considered an injury.
There.
So, I'd be curious about the concussion data. And I think they did a great job of actually taking out the wedge blocks, which I thought was dangerous.
Right.
But other than that, it's all good.
Yeah. I think people thought punts were a lot more dangerous than they are, but because the punter is seeing just the two gunners and there's usually someone blocking them, there aren't
the returner.
The returner is seeing it. There aren't the number of violent collisions as there could be on kickoffs. And I think that the data did show that, and that's why the punt hasn't really changed. The thing that is probably going to matter in the playoffs, and at some point, and you talked about a big onside recovery against the Bucks in the regular season, but the onside kick almost doesn't exist now.
Yeah.
And going back to that Saints Super Bowl win in 2009, that onside kick to start the second half that caught them off guard.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen anymore. And of all the things that they've taken away, I kind of hate that the most, but I understand why it would be almost impossible to do because of where the kicking team is lined up, the other 10 guys.
Can you tell them that you want to do an onside kick and then do it
in the fourth quarter? And you have to,
but you can't do it at the beginning of the second half if you wanted to.
No, you couldn't do it coming out at halftime, even if you're like, hey, we're going to do an onside kick. So I'll be ready for our onside, because then they have to move up, whatever it is.
Yeah. And then you just kick it over their heads.
Yeah. So, but special teams will be a bit of a factor, I think.
Yeah.
The Broncos have the best returner in football, I think, for most people's money, back-to-back Pro Bowler, certainly a
shout out to Mims.
Very dynamic. And then as my man Sal told us yesterday, the Bills returner is the only guy on the injury report that has somebody who's there for non-injury related personal something, but everyone else that is on there was a full participant. He did not participate. Now, them not having the returner doesn't mean Marvin Mims is going to be great, but it is now an advantage because whomever they use is not their main guy.
Yeah. And the Bills are pretty healthy, right? And the Broncos are pretty healthy.
Yeah. Broncos are remarkably healthy 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
We can give Sean Payton hard times here and there. Were you there when Bo Lowry was there? Or was he already at LSU?
No, I was.
So what is it about Bo Lowry that makes him good? And what is his job title? Is he the strength and conditioning coach, or is he like player performance?
VP of player performance or something like that?
I would say Bo has a very open mind, and he is very up to date in terms of what are the best modalities for players to stay healthy. He is not stuck in the old days of like it's just strength and conditioning, ice and stem. He is very much very open to whether it's dry needling, whether it's massage, bringing these things, all these modalities in-house. What are the best tools? When I was in New Orleans, they had some of the state-of-the-art equipment in there for recovery.
Yeah.
And so I think Bo has an open mind and takes that approach to player performance. And he's always willing to learn and understand. You know, when I actually went there in New Orleans, I had my modalities that I actually learned from the late great Demaryius Thomas that I wanted to bring into New Orleans. And, Bo was very open to listening to those things. And as you know, when you get hurt in the pros, I got hurt in New Orleans, they want you to see their doctor or this person or that person and do it like that. Bo was very open to the things and the people that I wanted to see back here in Denver. And I think they bring an open mind. And I think with the ownership group, they will spend the money if it's going to help the players and the product.
Yeah, a lot of times the team not so friendly when you want like a second opinion or do something that they're not suggesting, right? A lot of rigid sort of thinking in the training room. What are some of the modalities that DT taught you that you wanted to bring to New Orleans?
Well, just dry needling. We see a guy, but I still see a guy by the name of Doug Goldstein. He's down in Cherry Hills. Best PT. I used him throughout my entire career. I actually had some of the Warriors see him a couple years.
Timeout. Let's now. Why would Bennie be involved with the Golden State Warriors? One of Bennie's closest friends from growing up, Draymond Green, who is some people's favorite player and lots of people's least favorite player. But you guys have known
I'm a
each
Warrior
other.
fan. I grew up in the Bay Area as a Warrior fan, so of course I like Draymond.
Yeah. So
I think if he's on your team, Draymond is a guy that you absolutely love, and if he's not, it's easy to not like him. But so you and Draymond have known each other since you were
15. We played AAU together in Michigan State,
same school.
So Doug's seen a ton of people that I've recommended him to. Actually, Tim Patrick did a lot of his rehab recently.
Oh.
And
look at him now.
During the bye week, Tim comes back here, sees Doug for a couple days. So Doug's incredible. But I would say the dry needling part, the different massage therapists and different modalities when it comes to stretching, yoga, and just different cross-training techniques. I mean, I was DT's shadow when he was here for 4 years. I just wanted to do everything that he was doing.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard that one way to go about getting a massage therapist, you get on Instagram. And everyone has their own approach. There's also more traditional approaches that you might want to take. Well, because you mentioned
walk out with a hand towel on around your waist.
Because you mentioned DT, and I wanted to just go back to the kickoff thing. One of my favorite all-time stupidest stories in the history of covering the Broncos and maybe football. Josh McDaniels, Nate's favorite football coach, who
him and Ryan Harris.
Yeah, exactly.
DT gets drafted in the first round, his second year, or Josh's second year, which is ultimately the year he gets fired. And as the things were starting to get away from him, he starts 6-0, didn't go great the rest of the year. Second year, it's off to a rough start, and he's drafted Tim Tebow in addition to DT. He decides we need a spark on special teams, so we're going to take our first round wide receiver, who's built like a tight end, and make him the kick returner. So I go to DT in the locker room. I say, "Have you returned kicks?" He goes, "Not since 7th grade," and I didn't do much then. And you're not going to believe what happened to DT on kickoff. He got hurt.
Oh, really?
And I think it might have ended his rookie season.
Probably took his fins out,
took him
took his
for-
legs out.
for a month or something. It wasn't a devastating, it wasn't a tear or something, but it was something that was damaging enough.
Yeah, Josh was an innovator. That's right. But that's why folks don't play their best players on special teams.
You
But
think like Derrick Henry would be a badass kick returner, but you
course
know
he
what? Let's not kick him the ball.
Yeah.
Let's just hand it to him and let him go.
100%.
who's the Giants old Giants running back Brandon
Brandon Jacobs.
Brandon
Brandon Jacobs. So he started off on special teams, and we went to play them, and it was
my
like,
gosh.
you're watching on film what these guys are doing the week of, and it was like, oh my god,
Who's got to block him?
yeah,
He might
was
make
playing
Derrick
up,
Henry look small.
yeah, he was playing up back on the kickoff return, so he was leading up and just blowing dudes up, and every once in a while he would catch the ball and drag dudes, but he was just run down on kickoff, and man, he was like one of the most fearsome special teams players I've ever seen. And then of course he became a starting running back, and then that was all she wrote. But like you said, you got to find your way in, and then you
100%.
show your ability there, and then if they promote you, that's great. But there's a lot of damage being done on special teams that people don't see.
Oh yeah, for sure. That reminds me of Trent Richardson. You guys remember Trent Richardson,
Yeah.
first round running back when we played him. He's at Alabama, and Michigan State. We played him in the Capital One Bowl, but he was the L2 because he was behind Mark Ingram, who had just won the Heisman, and we were looking at film, and I was like, "Who's blocking him?"
yeah, maybe a double team.
So
Yeah.
as big as Derrick Henry is, which is like 6'3", 230-ish,
Yeah.
give or take.
230, no way.
What do you think he's listed at?
Two-
250? What he's
Probably
listed at or what he weighs?
245,
He's got to be 255.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you real quick, but it's still going to be smaller than
Jake,
he's listed at 6'3", 247. Guess what Brandon Jacobs is listed at?
What?
260.
6'4", 264.
Yeah.
4'5", 40.
Every bit of it.
Yeah, it's, no, thank you.
Oh my gosh.
The Broncos don't have to play Derrick Henry, and so let's look at this game a little bit. They don't have to play Derrick Henry. Maybe they will in 2 rounds if they get to the AFC title game and go back to Baltimore. And I heard from Broncos people that are in the building, they weren't in a hurry to go to Baltimore. They like their chances in Buffalo because they feel like they can just match up better because of what Henry and Lamar can do. We know it all starts with Josh Allen, so we got to talk about him. But James Cook is clearly better than he was a year ago, and I fumbled twice and was okay in the middle, but the 2 fumbles are why the Broncos won. So is there anything beyond Josh Allen, and we'll get into a bigger Josh Allen breakdown, but that scares you about their offense, whether it's Cook or the complement of receivers and tight ends with none of them being a number 1?
For me, I just think it's his ability to spread the ball around, and they play unselfishly. There's not like a one guy you got to key on. You got to cover the whole field, and you don't have to do that with every team. And I think Josh Allen has the ability, of course, as a dual threat to run, to stand in the pocket, to be able to buy time in the pocket, to be able to shuck off would-be tacklers and complete passes and put his head down. And so he's just such a versatile quarterback. I know you said other than Josh Allen, but the complements of receivers and tight ends and running backs feed off of that, and I think they play really hard for him and find ways to win. If you look at the stats, he's not near the top in yardage. I mean, Bo Nix has more yards and more touchdowns than Josh Allen. Maybe Bo Nix should be the MVP. I don't know. Why is it that Josh Allen is the front runner with a less than, at least if you're comparing statistically,
Media.
Media, right?
Well, no, but here,
Or he's like in line. He's like been getting there, and so finally, like, all right, it's Josh now. Now it's your turn. Josh, Lamar's already had 2. You haven't had any, Josh.
I think that's part of it. And we may see it. This isn't apples to apples, but Nikola Jokic is having an even better year than his other MVP years. And there is the thought that, well, the voter fatigue is they're still just going to give it to SGA or Luka or somebody else, even though Joker's numbers are better than all his MVP years. Let's see where that goes. Josh Allen's numbers aren't better than they've been. Lamar's are awesome. Lamar's better than Josh in almost every category except rushing touchdowns, where Josh does have 12 to Lamar's 4. But
it's because inside the 10, you're giving it to Derrick Henry, right?
Well, right. So Derrick Henry is now in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, and we hope that we'll get to see him in the playoffs. He's a legit number 1 type wide receiver.
Yep.
Mark Andrews is as good a pass catching tight end as there is in the league now, with Travis Kelce kind of coming back to the pack. And so a star-studded O-line as well for Lamar. The Bills Can you name who has the most catches or yards for them?
Well, I mean, the same case could be made for Bo here with the Broncos. I mean,
100%.
aside from us, who
Shakir's
knows-
the slot receiver for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he have the most catches, most yards?
I'm assuming that he does.
I think
I'm
he does.
assuming
Khalil Shakir, I think, has
Oh,
the most.
because Cooper got there late
Amari
and
Cooper,
Keon Coleman's been hurt.
Yeah, and Amari Cooper at one point with the Raiders when he first got to the Cowboys was a true number one, but he's definitely not that anymore and hasn't been. And Keon Coleman is a first rounder. But the point is we're having to
he has some pretty decent tight ends too, right? Dalton Kincaid and
Dawson
the other
Knox,
guys.
but they're not Mark Andrews. Like if I told you
No.
can have one of those three,
But those are better tight ends than the Broncos have here.
yeah, you guys are better tight ends than the Broncos. You were,
But you
And
know
if
what I'm
you would've
saying.
Lined up a tight end.
You know what I'm saying. But yes, Lamar has some weapons.
He just
has,
has, and I think it's that. It's that fatigue.
Yeah.
It's like, look at what Josh has done. They got to the second best record. They beat the Chiefs in regular season,
But
but
beat the Lions too.
beating the Chiefs, yeah,
and they beat
And
the Lions.
Yeah, that's true.
And he looked awesome in a crazy loss at the Rams where he accounted for 6 TDs.
Yeah, he
So-
looked
But the
incredible.
Bills haven't really made waves in the playoffs. I guess they made it to the AFC Championship.
They've
Two
played
years
well.
ago,
I mean, they
yeah.
just gotten beat. I mean,
Yeah.
or Josh played well, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, that's something that I don't think I even realized until we looked at the numbers, thinking because he has thrown some tough picks in his career, and certainly just gave the ball away more than he has this year, which has been his best year. But in the playoffs, he has like 2,800 yards in 10 games, 21 touchdowns, and only 4 interceptions.
Mm.
And I don't remember exactly when each of those interceptions came.
Yeah.
So if they come at critical times, then it skews a little bit.
I would say, going back to your original point, the thing that I would actually be worried about the most is actually who Riley Moss is going to be guarding. Because yes, Amari Cooper might not be a number one, but he still has the ability on those slants and those double moves to make plays. And are they going to be watching the Cincinnati tape and like, hey, we know we're not throwing at Surtain, so do we put our route runner in Amari Cooper to get him Riley Moss on him, or Keon Coleman, who is a freak athlete, make plays, not necessarily a polished route runner, but then who also is guarding Shakir in the slot, who is a dynamic slot playmaker. But I think the way they kind of eliminate that is they keep Bo Nix on the field. Sean keeps him on the field, extend these drives. Hey, Bo, use your legs. Let's give our defense a rest. Let's limit Josh's possessions.
Yeah, a couple 3-and-outs by the Broncos offense would be a problem.
Yeah,
because then the
100%.
defense gets tired. That's what happened with Cincinnati, right? And if I'm a quarterback, I'm throwing it Riley for sure. No disrespect to Riley, but you see what's opposite you, like the best guy in the league, in the world. And Riley coming off an MCL, it's going to be cold. That thing ain't going to be nice and warmed up.
Yeah,
it's going to be stiff as hell.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a challenge.
Just rub some icy hot.
No big deal, right? It's going to be a challenge. I've torn my MCL before. I came back in 4 weeks and it wasn't right. I played, I was wobbly. I was out there just trying to, but it didn't feel right. And I was playing receiver. I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
Riley doesn't know where he's going on a play. He has to react. And that knee, it playing against the Bengals, he was a step behind. But
playing on turf too.
Exactly.
It's tough.
All 4 leading tacklers that game against the Bengals were DBs. It was not a good look for him. No. But Joe Burrow was picking him apart, and
when he wasn't getting sacked.
Yeah, they play a brand of football that Josh Allen doesn't play, though. It is going to be colder, maybe some snow on the ground.
When it comes to keeping Josh Allen contained, and the Broncos certainly athletic at their linebacker spots and really good pass rushers on the edge and really athletic up front too with JFM and Zach Allen specifically, you always talk about when a quarterback can run, and he doesn't run the way Lamar and Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels run. But do you want to try to keep him in the pocket because he's got such a big arm and is such a great thrower of the football? Like, what's the kind of pick your poison with Josh Allen, or do you try to force him to one side? And then, I don't know the answer. I'm curious.
I would say definitely stay in lane discipline. I would say, don't run past the quarterback where he can step up and then he sees those lanes, similar to kind of what the Lions just did with Sam Darnold. Now, Sam Darnold obviously isn't running, like a Lamar Jackson, but the line kept him in front, keep him in the pocket and make him make the throws. And I think that's where Josh might struggle and get happy feet. And can he actually see things super clear? He does like to run. He does like to do things on the move. And I would say, let's force him. If we do force him to his left, because he is a right-handed quarterback, and throwing to the left is super challenging for quarterbacks.
Yeah, the Broncos leading the league in sacks right now. And I don't think they can forget that. I think they got to remember that's their identity, getting after the quarterback, and not try to game it so much that they take away their advantage and their aggressiveness on that D line, and try to, like, because I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, Lamar Jackson came to town and they tried to do the mush rush on Lamar Jackson. It's just like, keep him in, and they didn't try to tackle him almost. They were just like trying to keep him in the pocket and saying, okay, beat us with your arm, Lamar. We don't believe you can do that. And he did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was on the injury report all week that week. He had a bad back, but he still picked the Broncos apart because they tried to do the mush rush and not really attack him. I think the Broncos can't lose their identity. They have to attack Josh Allen. But Josh Allen's not the same type of player as Lamar. Lamar can go take off for 50. Josh Allen's really not like that, in my opinion. He's a guy who is hard to tackle, and he can get that first down, put his head down, but he's not rushing for 100 yards in a game. He's getting those plays that he absolutely needs, and he can find a way to get it. And so, like, he's a human being, man. I think they just got to keep hitting him. And
punish him.
Yeah, punish Josh
him.
Allen.
Yeah.
And if you want to take off and run, go ahead. But we're going to bring some hats up, to the party and make you hurt, because it's going to be cold out there.
Who's the guy on the Broncos defense that brings that Aqib to lead mentality to where, like, you know what, I'm going to set the tone like he did in the Super Bowl. I mean, he tackled somebody by his face mask the first drive. He knew he was getting the penalty, but he didn't care.
I don't know if they have that guy. And in fact, the guy that they've had in recent years is on the Bills practice squad, and Kareem Jackson. And I think Kareem got a bit of a bad rap as it would just snowballed with the hit he had on Musgrave, where he's launching, Musgrave drops down, and all of a sudden he's hitting him in the back of the head when he was jumping at the dude's waist. Still a 6'6" guy falls down. I don't know if they have that guy. And I want to kind of think about it for a second, but let me just go back to what you said about Riley Moss. Because they don't have that number one, they don't have to necessarily move Pat Surtain around at all and show you whether they're in man or zone some of the time. So is that a bit of an advantage to maybe help Riley a little bit, and that it's not that obvious? I understand really good quarterbacks can usually pick up here and there whether it's going to be man or zone, but does that give
I think it helps them disguise things a little bit better? Absolutely. I mean, that's why people do pre-snap movement, shifting and motion to make the man be revealed. Like, you run with him, it's man, but oftentimes they'll pass you off and it's still man. So there's ways to disguise what they're doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, the defenses are so advanced with their disguises that you don't always get it right. But I do think it helps them at least.
I'm excited to see VJ's game plan.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him just focus on this week and a unique talent in Josh Allen, but how he disguises and how he disguises coverages, how he brings blitzes, and how he gets after Josh.
Yeah.
And what is the discipline? What are the things? I'm curious to see what the keys are and how they will key in on Josh, keeping him in the pocket, making sure he doesn't break contain, and how they man up on the outside.
Yeah.
Going back to your question, I think I have the answer, and Nate loves to disagree with me, so I don't know if you will or not. But I think the tone setter on defense is a guy that now probably has an even bigger chip on his shoulder because he's not a Pro Bowler, although he may end up first or second team All-Pro, and that's number 99 in Zach Allen.
What do you mean I disagree with you? I love Zach Allen.
Is Zach Allen the tone setter on the defense? The guy that his edge?
Well, he has been this year.
Aqib Talib's edge is a different edge than most people that walk the earth.
Look, I think there's guys who play with more of an edge, and Jonathan Cooper, like off one side. I mean, Nick Bonito has the ability to do that. I wouldn't, Brandon Jones can come up and lay a nice hit, and he's had some big picks this year and stuff like that. But I don't think there is that kind of a guy. Zach Allen lets his play do the talking. He's not super hyped, but he's consistent, and he's leading the league in quarterback pressures and quarterback hits, and should have been a Pro Bowler. He's not, but he's an integral part of this.
Better.
What's that?
We'll take the All-Pro.
Yeah, is he an All-Pro?
I'm assuming that
a lot of people think he's going to get in.
So how do you? Oh, because it's a fan vote, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah. Fans, coaches, players.
Who does the All-Pro voting?
The 50 or so AP voters.
I'm not sure. I mean, Kirby Joseph leads the league in picks, and he didn't get Pro Bowl, but I'm assuming that he's going to get All-Pro.
We saw that with Justin Simmons a couple of years, and there's one year that Justin Simmons and one of the two old Bill safeties, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, both made All-Pro, and neither were Pro Bowlers. You're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But what will the Broncos have to do well, do you think, in order to have a chance to win this game?
Offensively or just period?
Both sides of the ball. But I guess we can start with the offense because we haven't spent much time on Bo Nix, which is weird to get to a show 36 minutes in. I feel like, and yesterday when Sean talked, he gets asked about Bo Nix. Court gets asked about Bo. Like, you can't have a press conference, it seems
Yeah.
like, and not ask. You may not ask VJ about Bo Nix, but you're going to ask almost everybody else. So,
I would say offensively, the way to go out there and win this game is we've been struggling with the run game, but is to establish the run and really just to stay ahead of the sticks. So, you want to get into some second and shorts, some third and shorts. I would definitely, if I know Sean is probably doing this, if you're not seeing the picture clearly, run and keep the drive alive. Just keep the drive alive. Keep Josh off the field. Let's get as many possessions, or let's limit as many possessions as we can for Josh Allen, and let's keep us on the field. I definitely think they'll take some shots with Courtland Sutton making contested catches all season. Mims will continue to be the gadget guy and make plays, but I see McLaughlin making plays. And I see just a lot of misdirection. I think Sean is getting his rhythm in terms of play calling. A lot of misdirection that we saw last week with just the
double reverse thing.
and then the tight end screen, or the screen to Mims. So I think we'll see a lot of screens and different opportunities to make big plays.
And I want to get your answer about offense, and we'll go back to defense. But they may have changed the name, they may not have. But it feels like if you've watched Sean Payton call a football game in the last 20 years, I'm not sure what you would call it, but that fake toss and then boot out the other way has to be, especially with a quarterback like Bo Nix and Drew in his younger years. But that has to be a staple of the offense, it feels like. What's that play call where it's literally you think, oh, sweep that way? Nope, here he comes.
Everyone has the version of that.
Yeah.
Like a QB sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
or is it
like
play
a fake
action?
sweep, essentially play action, fake sweep,
Yep.
and then a boot out the other way to
This is some
feels
form
like
of
always
naked.
a tight end or
I mean, that was a staple of the Shanahan offense as
Sure.
well. We just didn't always do it with the toss. It was more of like the fake handoff, and it was a quarterback, fake 19, quarterback keep pass right, and it was, you have 3 different levels of crossers, and you got guy in the flat, you got a shallow cross, you got whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can't cover all those guys, And if you are committed to the run, that's the thing. You got to commit to the run to make these play action passes work. And Sean Payton, he had "run it" written on his play sheet a couple of weeks ago, and he did that in the first half.
Yeah.
And in the second half, he didn't. Do you see any differences in the play calling this version of Sean and the one that you played for in 2020, who had Drew Brees?
Yeah, I would say it's just, number one, it's totally different offense. And I mean, our offense was super dynamic when I was in New Orleans. Michael Thomas was just coming off one of his best years. Yeah, Jared Cook, veteran tight end, Emmanuel Sanders, an incredible route runner, and our down the field guy, Deontay Hardy, was our gadget guy, kind of like McLaughlin and Mims here. And who else do we have? We had Kamara and we have Latavius Murray. So I mean, we were super dynamic, and we had the best offensive line in the league. So we could literally do anything, and everybody had a certain package. We had Traquan Smith. We had so many different personnels. What I will say,
as a player, as a receiver who wanted the ball, how did you feel in that world? I mean,
Sean told me I wasn't getting the ball. But he, like I said, he's super black and white. When I signed there, because Drew came out here to work out, and he was like, "We need you on our team." New Orleans signs me, and Sean's like, "Hey, look, you've been a B+ special teams player. I need you to be an A+ special teams player for this team, and you'll get on offense, but I can't guarantee you the ball. Look at our salary cap and look who I'm throwing to." So I was cool with that.
Yeah.
And we were number 1 seed. We were good.
Yeah.
So, but I wasn't getting the rock.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I'm a team guy.
Yeah, it's football in the NFL, man. You gotta.
I think Sean's offense this year, and every year that I think he'll be a coach here, the offense will always start out slow. He'll always start out with 60 personnel, and then he'll get down to 40, and then he'll get down to his best 30. And I think we saw that throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
I had it in New Orleans, and we saw it here last year and this year. And now he's got who are his top guys, and how does he set them up?
And so, who do you think who do you think he has the most confidence in
Mims
right now?
Sutton.
Because a couple weeks ago, he had a chance to go for 2 and beat the Bengals. He decided not to. He turned it down. He went for the kick. I think that was a mistake. Whatever. It is what it is. To me, he didn't have confidence they were going to make it. That's it. Yeah. And to me, it means he didn't know who he wanted to give the ball to in that situation. Like, he didn't have a play that he knew would work. Obviously, he trusts Bo, and play on with, a run pass up, or get him out of the pocket and let him decide. That would probably be what you would do with Bo. But who do you think that guy is on this team who's instilling the most confidence?
Mims and Sutton. Well, not in that order, but Sutton.
Yeah.
Sutton's your big play, or your big play guy down the field, as well as Mims. And then, if you need a contested catch, you're going to Sutton. How do you get Mims in space? McLaughlin, how do you get him in space? That's kind of how I see it.
Although Mims had to open some eyes with the catch he makes to essentially force overtime. You can't be more contested than that.
Yeah, it's
And
great
for-
hands too.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
a guy that's 5'9"
went up
on his
over a
best
couple
day.
dudes. There's
Yeah.
a 5'10" guy.
Yeah. And I don't know if Bo trusts him, but Lil Jordan Humphrey, who you played with,
Yeah, I played with
Sean
LJ.
certainly trusts him because
Yeah.
he's out there. And
I love LJ Humphrey, man. I think he's a very versatile player. There's a reason why he's on the field. He's a starter because he blocks.
He blocks. He's tough.
Yeah.
He will do all of the dirty work. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of how I made
Yeah.
my living here is that like, all right, I'm playing the slot and I'm going to block.
Yeah.
Emmanuel's not going to dig out the safety. LJ's going to go dig out the safety.
Yep.
He's a big body.
Yep.
Yeah, inconsistent with the hands, but he knows that offense inside and out. So if somebody has a question in that huddle, he can tell somebody.
And he's good with the ball in his hands after he catches it. He's got
100%.
some good instincts. Actually, I think probably yards after the catch or kind of instincts with the ball, probably the best in the group. I mean, you don't see Cortland Sutton breaking a lot of tackles. He's not that guy.
No.
Marvin Mims is fast and he can hit a lane, but he's not breaking tackles.
Yeah.
LJ breaks tackles.
Yeah, for sure.
What did you see from Bo Nix? Because you were with Drew Brees at the true height of his powers, where he knew the offense as well as Sean.
Yeah.
Bo Nix, and you talk about them coming along slowly, as they were kind of working through things early in the year. I don't think anyone, if you talk to people in the building, understood what they were working through, were worried that Bo wasn't picking it up fast enough. In fact, he was probably ahead of almost everybody else on the team, within reason.
Yeah.
But what have you seen from him that probably you wouldn't necessarily see from a rookie quarterback, especially coached by Sean Payton, or a young quarterback getting their first opportunity coached by Sean, that Bo's able to do because he does seemingly have a fast processor in his brain?
Yeah, number one, I think Bo is a fast processor. But I think Bo plays with a level of swagger. And I mean, just even look at him, do the long run last week and then pitch it. Like, that is, he is playing with a type of swagger. I love the fact that Bo keeps using his legs when there's nothing there, and that he has that ability to extend the play. Also, his accuracy has gotten better throughout the entire year. I think that's a great thing. And he's starting to go through his progressions. And I think the one thing that he will continue to get better as he plays throughout this offense is that the running back or the safety valve or outlet is your best friend. Yeah. And I think Drew did a really good job of that later on in his career. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3 is not there. I'm going to dump it off to Kamara, and Kamara goes 40 yards. And I think Bo will continue to have that progression. But he's making plays. I mean, it's super impressive to see. I know I gave a lot of praise to CJ Stroud last year in terms of his rookie year, but what Bo Nix and the way he has played this year is just as impressive. To take these guys or this team and this roster with the salary cap hell that we're in to the playoffs is very impressive.
More impressive than what Jaden Daniels is doing in Washington?
I would say just as impressive.
Yeah.
Just as impressive. Totally different. They're not in a salary cap hell, and they're not in this type of division. I mean, we're in the division.
Three teams in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, this is a tough division. And then, the roster,
I
know who Jaden Daniels is throwing to. You got Zach Ertz, an incredible receiver. You got Terry McLaurin. You had Eckler to start the season. Yeah. We didn't know what this offense was going to look like in terms of the talent.
So what do you think now that you have seen these guys over the last year? I mean, we mentioned Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, but what about these young guys? Because, Vele, Troy Franklin, we talked about LJ. They throw the ball to all those guys. Like, it's very rare where a team throws to 5 receivers who are active in a game and they all get touches.
Yeah.
I was a receiver for 2 years before I became a tight end, and there I would be up, I would be the 4th receiver in a game, and I wouldn't get a lot of action. I'd be mostly a special teams player, maybe 15 to 20 plays on offense, maybe a ball or two, but not like, Sean seems committed to spreading the ball around, getting all these guys involved. And there was a conversation early in this year about getting some playmakers. We got to trade for some playmakers. Do you think that's the case in the offseason? They need to upgrade the playmaking in the receiver room, or do you think that these young guys have the ability to develop into those players?
I think they do have the ability to develop into those players, but I definitely think that there is a need to upgrade the talent in the receiver room and also in the tight end room. Definitely want some route runners that can separate in the tight end room, but then also, who is the real route runner in the receiver room? And when I go back to the teams that I've played on and in the receiver rooms, I've been in some of the best receiver rooms in the league. You have a great duo on Demarius and Emmanuel. When I went to New York, it was Odell and Sterling. New Orleans, it was Michael Thomas and Emmanuel. So who was the route runner, though? When I was here, Emmanuel Sanders is our route runner. He is somebody who can put somebody in a blender. Odell and Sterling can both do it. And then when I was in New Orleans, it was still Emmanuel who can get somebody 3rd and 10. He's going to run a 12-yard curl, and no one can stop him from doing that.
Yeah.
We don't have that yet here.
Yeah.
So, but I like Vele. I like Franklin. And when I think about Sean Payton, he does not see, if you have a jersey, you have a role. You have a role, but then you also have offensive plays. Like everything, all my personnels were Michigan State, this and that. So all of your personnels, that's why all those guys are going to play. So I bet you when Franklin in there is Oregon 16 or whatever.
You mean
and
the
they
play
have
call or the personnel group?
The personnel group goes by your
So
college.
he's trying to get everybody.
He's going to get everybody in. Like Oregon 16.
If he keeps you on the team, he wants to use you.
100%.
Yeah.
So I had like 10 personnels. I had running plays and pass plays.
Yeah.
And those are all the routes that I did really well. And so when you see Lil Jordan in there, or you see Troy Franklin in there, those are all the routes they do well. I mean, Troy dropped a couple touchdowns this year, but they were wide open for a reason. It's because they knew he could get it open on those plays.
Yeah.
How nice would it be? And they are 0 for the season, especially on the left side of the field. Finally in the playoffs, Bo Nix and his college teammate Troy Franklin connect on a go route on the left side. Because we even thought on the third and 8 or 3rd and 9, I think, in Cincinnati, where he had a bunch of options, but it was an okay look. It was, I think Troy kind of broke inside and the throw was a little more outside, and they, of course, didn't connect. Yeah. But we know they connected a ridiculous amount of times on that play. I'm sure in practice in Oregon for those couple of years and certainly in games. Yeah. You know it's coming. They're not giving up on it. They're not taking it out of the playbook, but it'd be really nice.
They keep trying it.
It'd be really nice to see in the playoffs if it's this week or maybe next week in Kansas City.
Or maybe New Orleans in February. Yeah. Right? Playing the Lions or whoever. Could you throw that one up by John Joda there? Nate, you were talking with Plummer the other day about the old school tight ends. I think Nate Atkins is like that. I really like Nate Atkins as like an everyman on this team. He does everything. I mean, he plays all the special teams. Yep. He can play fullback. He plays tight end. And there's a reason why he's on the field all the time. And he has some sort of, low-key receiver skills and an ability. He's just a very smart football player. And I think what I heard was his touchdown that he had like a month ago was the first touchdown he ever had
in his life.
Football. Ever.
That's incredible.
And that's a testament to exactly what you're saying. Sean is if he's going to have you out there, he's going to find a way to use you, right?
100%.
Even if no one had ever used Nate Atkins like this before.
Sean's done it twice now and scored.
Well, now he's getting 2 or 3 catches every game.
Yeah.
And he's out there on the first play, because they are trying to set the tone with a physicality that Nate Atkins brings. And I think that there is a role for him on a team. But agree with you on the tight end room. They don't have a route running tight end. They thought maybe that was him and Lucas Kroll. He hasn't really materialized there. Greg Dulcich, we hoping it was him.
Yeah.
He's not here anymore. And Adam Troutman is just very, he's a consistent player in a lot of ways, but he's not like.
He's like a poor man's version of Owen Daniels. Slow, can run some routes, but it's just like it takes a long time.
And then when he catches the ball, he's not really looking to get more yards. He doesn't really have that kind of wiggle.
He feels like the traditional tight end that isn't your elite Pro Bowl type, like let's talk about this guy as a great, pass catcher, whatever. It's like he's going to block and he's going to block fine. He's going to run his route where he's supposed to. Yep. He'll catch. And
there's something to that.
100%.
For a coach to know that your guy's going to do the thing you expect him to do is pretty important.
Troutman was a rookie when I was in New Orleans.
So Troutman, you had Burton, you had LJ, Malcolm Roach,
all those guys.
So he's been with Sean for a while now.
Yeah.
So then the other side, what are the Broncos? We kind of touched on when we were talking about containing Josh Allen. What will we have to see from the Broncos to come away with a win on the defensive side of the ball?
Say that again. I'm sorry, I was looking up there.
Well, for the Broncos,
we got comments on the right. I know it's hard to read; they're really far away. But if your eyes are good, throw that one up about there. Oh wait, no.
27 degrees at kickoff.
PFM's final pass target. Never forget.
Let's go.
Well, you know what, Ben? We'll take a break from what we were doing, and why not show everybody the last throw Peyton Manning made as a professional. It didn't go down as either a throw or a catch. It did go down as a 2-point reception for you.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you still have the football and you're trying to work out a deal with him for a couple $1 million.
I wish I should have.
Was there was zero negotiation, right? You don't even hand it to Peyton. You hand it to Flip and say, hey, this or
no,
I
actually didn't
hand balls are marked and stuff too.
Yeah, I had the ball with me pretty much all night, including the club, and then we flew back.
Right?
Yeah,
you had it in the club.
Yeah, with me. So had it all night. because there were people telling me like this is his last pass ever. I was like, I'm holding on to this. I'm not putting it in my room. We fly back, and then we're cleaning out our lockers and everything like that. But I have his last ever regular season home jersey. Where he came back in against the Chargers and we ended up winning that game. He gave me that jersey that day, so he was signing that, and I was like, hey, I got your last pass ever. Do you want this ball? And he was like, yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I was like, why do you want this back? You have everything.
Like, are you sure you want it?
I'll take it.
I was just doing it as a nice gesture, but it was the right thing to do.
So what was it that made him so good?
Payton?
Yep.
I mean, he's the best quarterback of all time. It's like not like playing the quarterback position.
That's a hot take, though. I mean,
no, because
Tom Brady won 7.
Yeah, that's accomplishment. That's more of a that's a career accomplishment. That's the longevity. I mean, let's not forget that Peyton had neck surgery and came back here and won, MVP and set all those records. I would say in terms of the quarterback position being played, I don't think anybody ever played it better. He has 5 MVPs for a reason. He's the only quarterback that I know who did the no huddle. Yeah. And it actually worked.
Well,
I mean, everybody would bring the no huddle, try, Chip Kelly. Like we played on the ball.
And so could you break? Okay, so if you could, the previous play ends, right? Beep, you blow the whistle. You got 40 seconds until the next play. What is Peyton doing during that time? What is it like as an offensive player during that time? And before you say that, like for most of us, on a traditional offense with a normal quarterback, not like Peyton, you run back to the huddle, you sit in the huddle, the quarterback waits to hear the one play that they're running. He turns to you guys, gives the one play. We go to the line of scrimmage, on one, ready, break. We get to the line of scrimmage, motion, and we run the one play.
Yeah.
What did Peyton do?
It really just depends on the team that we were playing. I mean, we had our Biggie Small menu. We had our Top Gun menu. So these were different menus of plays that we would have where we'd go on the ball. So if we had like a Top Gun menu, it'd be all like, 737, 767. They'd be all plane names. But these are your routes, 7 routes. You have your 6 in the middle.
So this is going into an opponent. You choose like a menu.
We always have these menus up for every single game. But
opponent.
hey, okay, we're getting ready to go back out there as the offense. Hey, we're going Biggie Small.
Okay.
Small is to the left, Biggie's to the
right.
right.
Like a group of plays that you have memorized.
Yeah, I mean, this is the entire playbook. But
right.
like these are things that we're constantly repping. So hey, we're going on the ball.
Or Gase name him?
These are all Peyton's like movies and things that he can always remember.
I imagine he enjoys doing that as much as anything that's come up with the names.
So he was coming up with the names, but hey, we're on the ball here. We're going ice cream. So we go up to the huddle, Omaha said hut, blah, blah, blah. Defense shows what they're in, and then we call the play from there. But it was a way for us to always, as receivers, to see what was actually going on.
So Omaha didn't really mean much other than just to kind of yell out some stuff to get the defense to move around.
Or we might be audible in Omaha, and then he'll switch the play to Beta Dallas or Shula Miami or these different things, or you got Lil Topper or
and what are those
Flounder.
What is Shula?
These are all different concepts and plays. Or you have dig, which is a short end on the outside, and then a basic on the inside, which is 12 to 14
when you talk
yards.
About dig and if you watch the Manning cast, I imagine when you watch it, you're just hearing go through different menus.
It's the one thing that just still makes me connected to the game.
He talks about the burger route.
Yeah, in and out.
That's what he calls it, in and out. Or in and out burger.
In and out. You can say
you got a Zorro route or whatever they're gonna call it, but he calls it
Travolta. You had Dancer. You have all these things. Or
Dancer's just a go, right?
Yeah, Dancers just go routes, but that was it. Or so you just had these different signals and plays, and it was just so cool to see that be done and play at a high level. I think Tom Brady's incredible. I don't want to take anything from him. I'm just trying in the way the game was played and how Peyton played it. I haven't seen anything done like it.
I want to ask 2 related to things you just said, but so how tricky was it to know the dummy stuff week over week? Because he wasn't doing the same dummy stuff week over week either, because he wanted to constantly mess with the defense. So
he would say bozo in the huddle.
Okay.
Bozo.
But even at the line of scrimmage, when he's doing extra stuff, how do you know what's real and what's fake there?
Everything's all real. I mean, unless he says bozo and does the bozo clown sign, like, hey, only the defense is going to mess this up. Then everything was serious. You had 2 points right here. So if these 2 defenders come, then you're hot. If he only points to you 1, it only takes 1. I mean, I still remember all this because, that's what it was like playing with him. And you saw him, he has the best offenses of all time.
And if you don't get it right, you're unfortunately are Cody Latimer and you're not playing because he can't trust you to to
At
get all
all.
the signals. And, I'm not trying to pick on Cody, but that's just what happened. Is he looked awesome in camp, out jumping everybody. Like, oh, that's what this kid did at
Freak
Indiana,
athlete.
and then he just couldn't. He couldn't
Yeah.
get it all on the same page.
That happens to a lot of players to an extent. They're super athletic and talented, and then they get into camp and just can't.
I played with Corey Coleman. He was the first receiver off the board. I played with him.
Same high school I went to.
Yeah, I
Me
mean,
and
he
him,
was
two most famous.
insane ability, but like, if you told him what to do, he just could not remember the plays.
Jessica Simpson also went to high schools.
So something. Okay,
I just
go
want to
ahead.
ask about, you
Yep.
mentioned Brady.
Mhm.
Did you know when you were playing how close he and Brady were? Because we've now come to find out that they would go work out together in Tennessee at a high school and all that. And do you think, or I guess we don't make this, because of what Peyton did as a quarterback, Tom mimicked that in terms of all the pre-snap and understanding that, not that Tom wouldn't have gotten there, but he got there because of Peyton Manning and what Peyton was doing for the game.
Yeah, I think I did not know they were that close. Peyton when I first met Peyton, I was 21. So like, he wasn't sharing anything with me besides like, hey, just be in the right spot at the right time. I think it's really cool to see that type of relationship by two incredible quarterbacks. And I think the GOAT debate was still up when Peyton retired, because I think Tom had 4 and Peyton only had 2, but Peyton had 5 MVPs. So
How many does Tom have?
Tom's got 3.
Hmm.
So I think, Tom is incredible. This guy, Patty Mahomes, is on his way. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is the best player I've seen.
I think I'm with you. I used to say Aaron Rodgers was my favorite to watch, even if you want to talk about Tom and Peyton, and John Elway was high up there. With what Mahomes does, I know it hasn't been as flashy this year.
Yeah, what he's doing. If they're able to win the Super Bowl this year,
I don't want to hear the GOAT debate at all. Then
3
in a row.
No one's ever
in the
done
NFL
that.
is nuts.
And then also just the way that they're finding ways to win. He's not in the MVP debate. He's not in the top 5 in passing, anything, but they're winning, and that's really all that matters. And it's like it's a different brand of playing quarterback. It's not putting up gaudy numbers like Peyton did, and it's not like breaking crazy records like Drew Brees did. It's winning.
Yeah.
It's finding a way, no matter what, to win when the game is on the line.
If they make it to the Super Bowl, I bet you his numbers are as good as any quarterbacks that we see in terms of playoff averages over the 3 games that he will play. Like, I don't think they're going to get there with, maybe they win 13-10 or whatever.
They've been winning ugly all year.
I bet their offense looks better in the playoffs.
You think so?
Unless they play the Broncos.
Yeah. They didn't look good the other day against the Broncos with Carson Wentz under center.
I think with Hollywood Brown being back,
Is he
Hopkins,
back? Oh, wow.
Kelsey,
Mhm.
and then
Worthy
Worthy now,
Mhm.
along with the dual-headed monster in the backfield, I think their offense looks totally different than what it looked like even 4 weeks ago.
They got an issue at tackle though, don't they?
Yeah, they're having to play Tooney out there because they couldn't trust the young kid from BYU.
Yeah.
You
It's
think
our
they're
only hope. It's just hopefully that tackle. You mentioned Peyton, just like what he did at the line of scrimmage when we went, and I was talking about this earlier when we went on the road to Indy and in the playoffs and lost and got smoked. It was like Peyton was doing that stuff at the line of scrimmage, and Mike Shanahan was like, "I want that as my quarterback," and Jake was not that guy. And so then in the years to follow, he tried to make Jake be that, and Jake wasn't that. And so that's what created the falling out between Mike Shanahan and Jake Plummer, was Mike wanting him to be more like Peyton.
Yeah.
And
nobody's like
Peyton.
You can't have.
No.
I mean, Peyton's just a savant, and I play with Eli, and they're 2 totally different. Like
Yeah.
Peyton is very hands-on.
Yeah.
Everything is his. This is how I want things. I don't want Sports Center on in the building. I only want the news or the film of the team that we're playing.
Oh, wow.
Like Eli was happy-go-lucky,
Yeah.
but in pressure moments, Eli delivers.
Yeah.
Like no other. So, I think they're just all totally different. I was with the Patriots for 1 week, and I had a short stint with the Patriots, and I got a chance to see inside of like kind of who they are, just how they operate. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like
Everyone's trying to get the edge all the time.
they made Brady like a robot.
Yeah.
The way they install plays, the way they go about things. And I also think Tom had a really great thing going. Peyton had this as well, where you play in the same offense for 15 years.
Yeah.
Like,
And your play caller's adjusting to you and whatever. They're not,
Yeah.
we're going to do this now.
Yeah, if they bring in a new OC, he's going to learn your offense. You're not going to learn his.
if Sean's here for the next 10 years with Bo, we are going to see some great offensive football, because Bo will have mastered it all. When I was playing with Drew, I mean, they played, or Sean and Drew were together for 17 or 15 years.
Yeah.
They're just bouncing things off of each other. And now it's like Bo comes to Sean like, hey, let's run this. And Sean's not calling the plays anymore.
Yeah.
Bo's calling the plays.
Well, and I think you'll see with any good quarterback, and where Russell Wilson was at his best was in a 2-minute drill. It felt like, because he wasn't having to try to execute the coach's vision as much as he was going to go out and play. And some quarterbacks that maybe struggle with staying always on time and on target are good in 2 minutes. But Bo seems to have a command of that and has been pretty solid in the 2-minute drill. Go to the trip to Kansas City and what he was able to do, or on that final drive that set the field goal, or the Bengals' final drive of regulation. And so the idea that in 3, 4, 5 years it's going to be, 2.0, 3.0 version of that should make everybody here in Broncos country excited, especially because as much as you like their pieces on offense, they're going to get better at tight end in terms of athleticism.
Yep.
And so
I'm super excited I feel like Bo's been here for a couple of years. It's only been 1 year.
Yeah.
But I know that him and Drew Brees will get together this offseason. I know that for a fact. Sean will make it happen. And I know Bo has enough of I want to be better to reach out to Drew and spend a couple weeks there and really get dialed in and go through the drills and grow through the progressions. And hey,
you think Drew's still involved like that, like doing football stuff like that?
He can't help it.
Yeah.
That's why he had to get off TV. He was like,
what's he doing? Is he coaching or is he?
He's probably doing some stuff with his kids. But like if somebody wants to reach out to, it's like that Kobe Bryant thing. Like, hey, can you spend a week with me? Can I come out to San Diego and can we go through this?
There's also this little quarterback enclave out there that I don't know if you. Brett Rippon lives out there, but it's Drew, it's Chase Daniel in like Del Mar, San Diego.
Yeah, Rancho Santa Fe.
Yeah, Russ is out there too. Yep. And I don't know how much Russ is. I know that I'm sure last 2 off seasons ago, Russ was probably knocking on Drew's door. He's like, I'm going to be out of town the next month. Russ, like, let's calm down.
He sees Russ coming up. He's like hiding behind the couch.
I'm in New Orleans or whatever.
Well, hopefully when I'm sorry, not Russ. When Drew, Bo, and Sean get together, Sean breaks out the Callum.
The Camus.
The
Camus.
Callum. Where did they get that?
Okay, we didn't get to my last question about defense, but we're going to get out of here. I'll just ask for a final thought from each of you. Will they be getting bottles of Camus ready because they're going to go to Kansas City? You're going to go to Buffalo and win and then get ready for a trip to Kansas City. How do you see this game playing out, Nate? I'll start with you.
You may call me a homer, and that's fine. I think the Broncos are going to upset the Bills. If they are going to, they have to punch them first. Energetically, they have to withstand the storm. It's going to be very loud there, and it's going to be, an energetic sort of tornado at the beginning there. But I think if the Broncos punch first, our aggressors attack, play free, and with some passion, I think they can upset the Bills, and I think they are going to. I think it's going to be 20-17 Broncos.
2017. I think they're going to have to score some points. I think Sean dials up some great plays. I think they go on the road. I think they get the win. I'm saying 28-24.
Love it.
And I'd love for Bo to get into the end zone using his legs.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on the score there. I think they're going to upset them too. Sitting in the press box last week, and Nate, you're kind of up and by me, but you know who I sit by, and they're like, it's going to be tough in Buffalo. I'm like, I think you're thinking of a different Bills team. They certainly can win the game. Look, they've got a guy who might very well be the MVP, but they don't scare you. I think the way maybe the Ravens do, the way the Chiefs, when they can turn it on with what Patrick and company can do. And so I think they're going to go there and win the game too. I'm excited that I'm going to be there. Nate, you're going to be here doing a watch along. Benny, if you're not busy Sunday, I'm sure you swing by, hang out with Nate and Jake the Snake.
Yeah, we might even get Tom Nalen.
Yeah, and Tom Nalen too. So, but we'll have you on the watch along party. Look, we've still got more off field tomorrow as well. You're going to talk with Brandon Lloyd also. For Dumb Jock, and get some of his thoughts that will make it to off field tomorrow. I'll be traveling to the East Coast tomorrow, so it's going to be a fun weekend here in Broncos country. Benny, it's been awesome having you. We hope you'll stop by some more, and you're a permanent part of Broncos history, catching Peyton Manning's last pass, even though you're nice enough to give it back to him. As much as you were like, I can keep it at my house like a museum.
Right.
You'll know where it is, and then if you need it for a speaking engagement,
exactly.
But then also your knowledge of the Broncos now with Sean and that staff that you know so well, and a handful of former teammates that are here. So it was awesome having you. Enjoy the game, and we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Follow Benny.
Appreciate you guys.
On social media at Bennie Fowler 123. And if you're a high net worth individual, get in touch with him and he can manage your money as well. He's Nate Jackson. That's Bennie Fowler. I'm Brandon Cristal. We'll catch you next time on Off Field, and keep everything locked into all we do here. It's a busy day here at Guerrilla Sports.